Good morning, everybody. I've got Melody Medley here with Oyezz Real Estate, the queen of short sales. She is a regular here on our show because I love her.
Aww,
I absolutely do. This woman has knocked out a numerous number of short sale transactions with us, and I love introducing you to the Propelio crowd because I believe anybody that uses Propelio should also be using Melody.
Well, thank you.
Just for those, real quick recap, what is a short sale? What do you do?
Basically, it's when a homeowner's upside down. They owe more than what the property's worth. Investors, you might think of it as negative equity. There's nothing that you can do. The sellers are just too far behind to do any creative strategies with it. So the last step before foreclosure is going to be a short sale. So I'll negotiate with the seller's lender for a shorter payoff of the mortgage.
Okay, I love that. But for some of y'all out there, if you're bringing, how would somebody bring a short sale to you? Why would somebody bring a short sale to you? I know if I'm out and I'm talking to a property homeowner and they owe $200,000 on a $100,000 house, you're my go-to.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that process a little bit on what's going to happen when I bring this to you and what do you expect of me?
Got you. Okay. So basically, you're going to vet the lead. You're going to make sure that they are in fact upside down and that there's no other option, because we want you as investors, as buyers, we want you to help that seller. So if there's another way that you can do it by not doing a short sale, please do it. Short sales is literally the last option for these homeowners besides the foreclosure. So if you find somebody who's upside down, you're marketing to the pre-foreclosure list, whatever the case may be, blanket marketing, you find out that they are in fact upside down. You want to let the sellers know, hey, Melody or David, he's my partner with Oyezz Real Estate, is going to call you. They actually specialize in your situation. And then you can just email me their information. If you know any history, like maybe what the mortgage payoff is, if there's a foreclosure date, just any information that you think would be helpful, share that with me as well. And then what we'll do is we'll reach out to the homeowners and we'll contact them and run down what the short sale is and what the process is and work with the seller that way. Once we get the seller signed up, I'm going to call you and say, okay, Daniel, I got your referral. We talked to Sally seller. She's ready to go. She's on board to do the short sale. I need your offer now to start the short sale. Because my goal is to try to get you as the investor the property through the short sale, if I can. Now, if it's a nice, pretty retail house, I'm going to tell you straight up, you're probably not going to get the property, and we can go into those reasons later. But if it's a distressed property, I'm going to say, yes, give me your offer, let's work it, and I'm going to try to get you the property through the short sale.
I guess to set some expectations for investors, I don't know how many leads I have sent you over the years, at least one or two, but I'm leaning towards maybe 1 out of 15 to 20 would I actually get to purchase through a short sale. And that's not because you're not a good short sale negotiator, it's because the banks aren't stupid.
Right.
I mean, if you bring the bank a property that's in beautiful condition, needs really zero repairs, they're not going to discount it past retail.
You're right.
They're not. And a lot of times the short sale leads will be built in 2008, 9, 10 or whatever. And beautiful houses really have no deferred maintenance or problems with them. The seller is just upside down because they haven't made a payment in 6 years.
Yep.
And you get one of those leads, it's a beautiful lead. I know you'll love it,
yeah.
But you're not going to get to buy it.
No.
Let's talk about some of the ones you could get to buy, though. Let's set some expectations for what the probability of you getting something is.
Got you. So I think we've narrowed it down to basically 1 out of every 5 that you send over, we can probably get you. Now, you said 1 out of 15.
I've sent you a lot of leads, some of them.
Back in the day, we got you some. It really depends on who the lender is, the type of loan that the seller has, and then the condition of the property. So,
well, let's stop it right there.
Okay.
What do you mean, what type of lender they have? What are you talking about here?
So the bank, whatever seller's loan the bank is with. So if it's going to be like Ocwen or SPS, sometimes
SPS.
Chase, yes.
That was my best one.
Yes.
That was my best
They
one.
are more willing to work with you because they're conventional loans. They service conventional loan versus like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, they service FHA loans. FHA loans have way stricter guidelines when processing the short sale.
So that way I can understand that. Let's talk about them. What are the so conventional you say are way easier than FHA, Fannie-backed loans or whatnot.
Yep.
Why? What's the difference?
So conventional loans, it's probably backed by some private investor. I always like to say Bob in Beijing's probably got this property. He bought a defaulted list.
Bob in Beijing. I like that.
I don't know where these guys are. I don't ever get to talk to them. But so Bob in Beijing has a portfolio of defaulted mortgages, and SPS is servicing all of them for him. So Bob is going to understand that, yes, he's going to have to take a loss. He's not going to have a lot of rules and restrictions for him taking a loss because he's the only one who owns that note. Or maybe it's a couple of his buddies. Who knows? So therefore, it's a lot easier to work with because he's going to be more reasonable and understand and not want to take, reduce his loss, basically. He's going to understand that he's going to have to take a loss. Versus an FHA loan, you have to follow all the HUD guidelines. There's a lot of restrictions, a lot of walls and barriers that you have to beat down. And a lot of the times, FHA, they're not going to budge.
Okay.
Conventional loans, they will.
Are there any specific loan to values that the FHA will offer or accept that you've heard of or seen, or does it vary a little bit from time to time?
No, I can't tell you that. There's no mathematical equation that I can give you to say, okay, well, if they owe this much, the bank will accept this much. It's all about the appraised value.
Okay.
So each lender, whether it's a conventional loan or FHA loan, they're always going to order an appraisal of the property, and they're going to appraise it for the as-is current condition. So if that house is crappy, they're going to come back with a lower value.
Okay. Now, talking about the appraisals, interior versus exterior BPOs, do you deal with those? What are those? Are we even talking about that right now? Or?
Usually the banks will always do an exterior, but it's like that doesn't even matter. Some conventional loans will only do an exterior.
For real?
Yeah, and then I'll say, no, you have to go inside and look at this property. You need to do an interior, and then they'll agree and say, okay, fine.
So those that are watching that don't know what a BPO is, can we just do a 5-second cap of what a BPO is?
It's a broker's price opinion. It's an agent who's licensed to evaluate a property and determine what it's worth. Versus an appraisal, it's a very thorough, top to bottom, kind of like an inspection almost, about that property. So a BPO will take in repairs, FHA, they'll just kind of guess on what the repairs would be. So we always suggest to meet the appraiser or the BPO at the property.
Okay, so recap real quick for those that are all joining up right now. Starting off with short sale is when they owe more than what the home's worth.
Yes.
We can easily submit them over to you, but there's some expectations that we need to take into consideration when we send them over to you, and that is, if the house is absolutely beautiful, don't expect to get it at a discounted rate.
Correct.
But if the house is trashed, we're probably doing good.
Yes.
We like conventional better than FHA.
Yes.
Yeah. And we always need an interior BPO.
Correct.
All right, so we've caught you up to here.
Nice.
So now that
That was a
we've
good
gotten to
recap.
the interior BPO, we need to attend that.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it's the make or break point of a short sale.
It's a
because
must.
It's definitely a must. If a value comes back way high, first of all, you're not going to get the property, so you're going to be upset. Secondly, I'm not going to be able to sell it and help the seller, so we're both screwed, and that doesn't help anybody. So yes, bring repair bids, bring whatever you have. Some people bring sex offender lists. They'll bring crime charts to show the BPO, like, hey, this is a bad neighborhood. It's going to be harder to sell for these reasons. So you're not trying to influence the BPO or appraiser. You're just,
You are.
I didn't say that. You just want to give them all the information so they can make the best evaluation of that property.
Do you attend the BPO, or does the investor need to attend the BPO?
No, we can if you need us to. What we actually do, we've changed our strategy a little bit, is we want the sellers to be there. Because we've found out that the BPOs and the appraisers will listen more to the seller than to you or to me, because we have an interest in the property. But the seller just wants to get rid of it. They're going to be honest. They live there. Yes. Yep. This. Yeah. So we, first and foremost, we'll have the seller always be there. We recommend that you're there too, just to validate what the seller's saying. And then if you guys can't make it, yes, we'll definitely show up.
Sweet. So we've got the BPO. We've talked to the bank a little bit. Where do we go from the BPO? What's going on with my offer? Because I bring you a short sale lead. I submit my offer. We get to the BPO. What's going on behind the scenes? Because all I know is that I get a phone call from Melody every once in a while saying, hey, I got you a house.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. I probably call my lenders 3 times a week at least. So
Per
I am
property or just like?
per property.
Okay, so you're making a lot of phone calls.
Yes, I am on the phone 24/7 with the bank. Well, bank hours, but always on the phone. So yeah, I'm submitting financials to the lender. There's a whole process that goes on behind the scenes to validate, for the seller to be qualified for the short sale, to even get the BPO ordered. That's, probably 2 to 3 months into the process. And then once we get that value back, depending on if it's a conventional or an FHA, sometimes I can actually dispute that value.
Sweet. So do I have a question coming in from the crowd?
Lacey had a quick question. She was watching on one of the groups, and Melody may or may not answer this, but she was asking, what's the worst bank that you've had the experience with? Like, I'm not asking I don't know if she's wondering the actual bank, but then she was asking, is it more specific to the type of loan that you have the worst experience?
Wells Fargo, hands down, is the worst bank. I can't stand Wells Fargo. Their process is just, it's unreal. And Wells Fargo services a lot of FHA loans, so they don't follow FHA or HUD guidelines.
No?
No, it blows my mind. It frustrates me so much that I took the HUD handbook, printed it off, and I think Grant Kemp's the only one who's read it back and forward, so you know what I'm talking about. I took the short sale section out, which is the pre-foreclosure sale. It's probably 40 pages. I have read that thing front to back 1,000 times, highlighted.
That's why you're a badass.
Man, I have it saved on like every page on my desktop. So when Wells Fargo comes at me with no, this is not, I'm like, okay, you don't even know what you're doing. So here's the HUD handbook. I have to send them the HUD handbook, say you're not following this. And then of course I have to call HUD and say, look, Wells Fargo is doing a disservice to you and to the homeowner. So it's basically just a battle. Like I just want to wring their neck.
Wells Fargo's like, we're Wells Fargo, we'll do what we want.
Yeah, well.
That sucks.
Maybe one day they'll
I remember
burn
when
down.
I was processing short sales for myself back in the day, I had a one with Wells Fargo and they wanted proof of funds for my offer. So I sent them a copy of my bank statement.
Right.
They responded back and they're like, that's not gonna work. We need a proof of funds letter. So I literally just got on my phone and says, Daniel Moore has money, and sent them a letter. They accepted the letter, but they wouldn't accept my bank statement. I thought it was funny.
They're so backwards. They don't know their left hand from the right foot. They have a lot of turnover. So, and they'll even tell you like, yeah, we just hired a bunch of new people, you know, they're not trained. It's like, wow, and these people have a loan with you and they're supposed to entrust you. It's horrible.
Looks like we may already have another question coming in. So didn't we even answer the first one really?
Oh,
I
gosh,
may have
did we?
interrupted you a
Sorry.
little bit.
Well,
So
Lacey
Wells
was saying-
Fargo.
Exactly.
No, thank you, Lacey. She knows, yeah.
This is less of a question, but more of a let's make sure we don't get sued. Richard was saying, so can I go over there and trash the house? LOL. I'm pretty sure we know the answer.
No.
No. No, I mean, you're going to meet the BPO there. So you're probably, when you get that call to go meet the seller in the first place in the very beginning, you're going to know the condition of the property. So you're going to make your repair bids accordingly. And I always say, don't use your repair bids that your buddy contractor is going to help you do. Get like the yellow page repair bids, because that's actually what the true cost of repairs is going to be. So that's what you want to present to the appraisers, what the true cost of repairs would be. That way we can ensure a fair value to come back.
That's perfect. I mean, I know for me, from the number of properties that I've walked, when I walk into a property and I know it's underwater, I can immediately say this is my property or it's not. And I know whether or not I'm actually going to get it. But whenever I see one of those properties, it's like the roof's caving in, there's mold all over the walls, the carpet sticks to your feet, and like there's rats coming out of the sewer line, I know for a fact that is not a retail property.
No.
I am going to get that property. So whenever I'm working with Melody, I'll go out and get all the repair bids I can, foundation repair bids.
Yeah.
And those aren't, like I said, buddy repair bids. Those
No.
are like my full-blown actual
True,
repair bids.
yeah.
And then I'll meet the BPO out there and I'll be like, these are the repair bids that have came in, and this is why I'm offering what I'm offering.
We had this one really bad house where there was mold, and the sellers had to leave because of the mold smell. Like they couldn't live there anymore. So when the BPO came over, it was another investor of ours. He had a mask already for the BPO agent, and that guy was like, no, like I'm not going in if I need that. And so the BPO agent said, do you have pictures? And he said, yeah, of course I do. He's like, just send me the pictures and tell me what you want. So if it's something like the house that you were describing, yeah, I would bring like a mask, maybe one of those like face masks, whatever you need to do.
I don't know if I should admit to this, but I had a very similar situation where a sewer line busted under a house and the sewage was seeping up into the carpet and the house was just bad.
Gross.
And when the BPO showed up, I was on like BPO number 5 because I just keep contesting value. Contesting value. We were probably a year and a half into this short sale, and this BPO shows up, and I literally handed him a gas mask, and I was like, I've got pictures, you don't have to go in.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. My job, I have to have pictures, I have to go in. And I was like, everybody that's gone in there has gotten sick. I don't recommend you going in there. And he's like, my job, I take pictures.
Okay.
He walked in that front door, walked out 3 seconds later, sneezing, coughing, was like, you have pictures? I was like, I have pictures.
Yes.
He's like, what do you want the house for? And I said, lot value. And he said, okay.
Nice.
He wrote the BPO up for lot value and we bought it. So,
Yeah, that's how you do it. And now some BPOs, agents, they're going to be like that. They're going to understand. They're going to be like, okay, forget this. And then you're going to have those ones that are, like, oh, I have to do my job.
Right.
Because, I understand from their point of view. It's considered mortgage fraud if they tamper with the appraisal or the BPO.
I was just trying to help the guy out. The house was bad.
Yeah.
Like bad.
Yeah. But I recommend that if you have like a poop candle you want to light, hey, Richard, go for it. But
so once we get through the BPO, what goes on from there? I think we kind of paused at that point, took a couple questions, but we get the BPO done. What's the bank going to do? It's like if the BPO comes back at 100 grand, am I going to be able to offer 50 and get it, or what's this mean?
So it really depends again about the type of loan it is and the type of lender it is. So if it's SPS and the value comes back high and you're saying, no, Mel, I can't do it, and I'm pulling comps and I'm thinking the value is high myself, yeah, I'm going to dispute it because we have evidence to show the bank like, whatever this BPO was on that day did his job wrong, and here's why. So if we can show them enough evidence and give them the repair bids, sometimes with SPS, here's a little trick for you guys. They're going to come back with a value, and it's always going to be high. Like they want to minimize their loss, so they're going to come back with a high value. So what we can do is we can just kind of hang out for a little bit, maybe 30 days, 45 days, and then I can resubmit your offer again. And they're going to say, no, it's still too low. We need a counter. Then you can do an inspection, which costs you money. It's a risk because still you may not get the property. But I want to.
$300, and if it increases the probability you getting the property.
It could be worth it. So if you get an inspection, SPS 9 times out of 10 will lower that value to your offer.
That's nice.
Yes. So SPS and Ocwen, same deal. They are great to work with getting the values down. Now, if we're talking about Wells Fargo or any FHA loan, they want the appraised value, and they're not going to budge for at least, the values for FHA loans are good for 120 days. They're not going to budge. Now, if we really want to get technical, after the value is determined, after 30 days, they'll take less, but it's only a minute less, like $1,000 or so. It's not really worth it. So
I read somewhere, and I don't directly recall the numbers. I believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, with FHA, within the first 30 days, they won't accept less than like 92% of appraised value. And then within the first 60 days, they won't accept less than like 89%. And then the first
you're close.
90, something along those lines.
Yeah, you're close. So it's 88%,
Okay.
and then it's 86%, and then the minimum they would take is 84%.
And that has to be after like 90 days.
Yeah,
right?
and it's really hard to get them to accept the 84%. There has to be like a lot of liens, something to draw that net down lower before they'll really accept the 84%. And on those cases, I go directly to HUD and talk to them about that. I don't go through the servicer.
Okay. You just said something that I want to talk about a little bit more on. You said depending on the liens and number of liens and stuff. I'd like to talk more about that, but it looks like we may be having a question popping up over here.
Yeah, quick question. So Renee, she was asking, so what do you do with a house like the mold house? How do you make money off that? It sounds to me like it should be condemned property or something.
Well, it's a fair question. I make all my money from the commissions of the short sale. The seller doesn't pay me any money, and the buyers don't pay me any money. I get direct commission from the lenders. So if that's the case, and the value is really low, well, I'm only going to get the commission, but I'm getting my investor the property, which is better business for me. I'm helping the seller by selling their property and having a successful short sale. So to me, I win that way, and the investors will bring me more properties, and I'll eventually get paid, be compensated.
The way I make my money on a property like that is if I am able to buy it at a discount that's sufficient to make the repairs and still leave money on the table for a profit, which is the only way an investor should be buying these properties, then that's how I make my money. I buy it at a discount that's significant enough that I can make all those needed repairs and still leave a nugget at the end that's called my payday.
Yeah.
So that's how we're able to make money on these short sales.
Yeah.
And this, just touching base again with you and myself, this isn't fraud. Like if it's a retail ready house, there's no chance in hell that I'm buying it.
No.
But if this house is absolutely, obviously, no way a retail sale, there's not a lender out there that's going to loan on this thing outside of private money or hard money or a cash purchase, then they need to sell it at investor rates because that's who's buying it.
Yeah, and that's exactly true. Like when I go back and do my value disputes, I let them know exactly what you said, that the amount of buyers is now limited because of the condition of this property.
And it's going to be an investor.
Yeah, and it's going to have to be a cash buyer, and cash buyers are investors. So yeah, it just further proves our point when we're trying to dispute that value.
Yeah, so I don't want to come across as like we're trying to cheat the bank or something like that. It's like the bank can have the pretty ones, they can have the retail ones, but when it's an investor buyer, we need our discounts, and it's going to get sold to an investor.
Yeah, and even to further prove that point, let's say that the mold house comes in and the value comes back at $80,000 and it's really only worth $30,000. Well, guess what? It's going to sit on the market for months and months and during that time, the seller's still missing payments, so they could be susceptible to foreclosure. So the bank's not doing themselves any good by just letting it sit, and now they're incurring all the costs and having to pay the taxes. So it's like they understand after a while. It's a game. It's like a tug of war with with the bank. No, we want this value. Okay, we'll play your game for a little bit, and we'll sit back and wait. And then, oh, now you realize, and I'll even put it on, have showings and the CSS feedbacks. I'll send that to the banks when I do my value. And be like, look at all these people saying this house stinks, or it's, half the floor is sinking. And, the banks will finally understand and realize, okay, we tried it our way, that didn't work. Now we'll try it your way, and then it'll eventually work out.
That's what don't confuse short sales with, I'm going to have this property bought in 30 days.
No, please don't.
Quite literally, my longest one was close to 5.5 years.
Oh my god!
And we were doing tug of wars. It was that wasn't SPS, that was Chase.
Okay.
But with Chase, I honestly just don't think they had the documents to close because the payment hadn't been made on that house in like 8 years. And literally, I just don't think that they had the documents to foreclose. And they finally came back begging me to raise my offer.
Wow.
And my offer that entire time had been like around $40,000.
Wow.
And my final offer to them, they were $195. They asked me if I'd come up to 95, and I said I'll come up to 50. And then they're like, well, we'll foreclose, and I was like, then foreclose.
Yeah.
And then a week later, I get an approval letter for 50 grand.
Nice.
So it looks like we have another question popping up here.
This is more of a question just for me and my own curiosity. From both of you, what was the most successful short sale? Like the property was worth $1 million and you offered $5 million. Like, and then was there any successful transactions where you're like, holy shit, the bank accepted that?
Yeah, we have that every now and then with Aquin. Aquin is the one that I'm thinking of right now. It's a house out in Dallas, like the Preston, Frankfurt area.
Okay.
They valued the house at $425. We're like, no way, man. Like the pool is disgusting. Like everything's broke on the pool. The person hadn't lived there in a while, so the utilities had been off, and you just get that smell and that musk, and it was like Texas heat right in the summer. The roof was bad. There was a water leak, mold damage. I mean, you name it, it had it. But it was a really nice neighborhood, so of course the comps are going to be high. Well, Aquin came in and said, we want $425. I'm looking at the comps thinking, not in this current condition, no way. So did a value dispute. They rejected it. Waited a few months. Did another value dispute. They came down to $375. I said, no, that's still not good enough. I mean, the spread for the investor wouldn't have been good, and just the condition itself, I didn't think it was worth it. So we did another value dispute. I think we ended up getting it down to $325. So from $425 to $325, and
what was
that
retail
investor
value on it, you think?
It was like $550.
$550.
Yeah.
If you ever have an investor back out on something like that, you
did call me on that one. It's Twin Brooks.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember
you
that
called
one.
me on that one
I
several
wanted
times.
that one too. So for all the investors out there, she is an honest woman because there's been more than one property I've seen her listed, and I'm like, I want that property. She's like,
I can't.
Somebody else brought it to me. So yeah, she gets some nice properties brought to her. So
well, from you investors, you guys do all the the dirty work. Yeah, you're marketing. You're already doing what you need to do, and it's basically just another step. If you're marketing and you find out that they're upside down, you can't do anything with it. We'll just refer it over instead. Don't throw it away.
I know I used to process my own short sales, and I'll be damned if I'll ever process another short sale again. I handed them over to you. Back then, I hated Aquin. I mean,
oh, man.
I hated Aquin. This was probably 6-7 years ago, but I hated Aquin. Wells Fargo was a PA, but I really liked Chase back in the day.
Yeah.
And I don't know, things have obviously changed. I haven't touched much since then, but looks like we may have another one popping up here.
Thomas Talubin, sorry if I butchered your name. He had an interesting question, and I actually am curious about it too. What about shorting junior liens?
Oh,
yeah, that's a great question.
We're going to talk about.
Yeah,
That's what we were going to round back to.
Thanks for bringing us back to the topic here. Yes, so any liens, second mortgage liens, HOA liens, city liens, they all have to be negotiated, and that is part of my job. So as an investor, you bring me a property, my job is to clear the title, so whatever that takes to do that. So if I'm doing a short sale on the first mortgage, and there's also a second mortgage, I have to do another short sale with that second mortgage holder as well, and get their approvals. I have to have all approvals on that title before we can go to closing.
Let's talk about that for just a second. Okay. So let's say I've got a property. First position lien, $500,000.
Okay.
Second position lien, $250,000.
Okay.
BPO appraisal comes back at $510,000.
Okay.
What are you going to offer that second position? First position, $500,000, BPO $510,000, second position, $250,000.
So it really depends again on the type of loan that the seller has. Because FHA will pretty much only give out 8% to that second lien, or up to.
Well, hold on a second.
I'm sorry.
8%
No,
to that second
I
lien?
misspoke. Sorry.
Okay.
So FHA will pay up to $4,500
$4,500
for that second lien.
See?
Now, conventionals does the 8%.
Okay.
So yes, it's my job to now go to that second lien who's owed $250,000. Like, hey, you're only getting $4,500. Do you want to take this?
See, now I asked this specifically because I've had some people be like, well, the second lien's $250,000. Should I offer them maybe $200? I'm like, no, maybe $200.
Yeah.
Not $200,000, but I might offer them $200. They're like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, just think about it and let's talk about this for a second. What happens to the second position if the first one forecloses?
Completely wiped out.
How much money do they get?
0.
And do they know this?
Yes.
So how hard is it to negotiate second liens most of the time?
Typically, it's not too hard because they understand that they're in that position. They took that position when they signed that note with that homeowner.
So second position liens are not in a good position. They're in the first. They're the first ones to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's
Pretty much.
That's the order to go. But what about other liens like tax liens, child support liens, IRS liens, mechanics liens, AJs, things like that?
So AJs can be lifted by the title company.
Okay.
So that's usually not a big
AJs
issue.
are?
Abstract of judgments. So typically those can be lifted, and it takes about 30 days, sometimes longer if the creditor wants to dispute it, but hopefully if you have a really good title attorney, they'll do all that for you. So that's definitely helpful. Mechanics lien, I have had an issue with mechanics lien. We had one, it was actually the city of Irving. They had put on a mechanics lien. They had offered, it was kind of like a down payment assistance, but they wanted their money back.
Yeah. It was a grant, right?
Yeah, it was
I've dealt
kind of
with
like a
those
grant.
before.
And so they wanted the money in full. And I'm, trying to lay out the numbers for them saying, look, it appraised at this, that's even more than your pay. Like, this isn't gonna work out. And they were not wanting to take a short at all. And so what I ended up having to
They're
do
not
was.
required to, are they?
I don't think so because it was the city.
Yeah, the city,
I don't know. I even had my attorney,
Right.
send emails and faxes like, hey, you guys need to take a loss on this. There's no money to be made off this sale. Here are the numbers, look at it. And they still refused. So what I had to do was actually relist the property and include that second lien in there, whatever, minus what the bank was willing to pay, and put that in my sales price and let the buyers know, hey, you have to bring additional money to pay for the second lien if you want this property.
I mean, real quick side story. I had a similar situation. I wasn't doing a short on it. I was doing a foreclosure. It was a pre-foreclosure. I was trying to buy it. There was potential for equity there. But when I first contracted the property, retail would say about $110, $110,000. I was picking it up for $56,000, and I needed about $20,000 in repairs. So it wasn't a great deal, but it wasn't a horrible deal either. They had got a down payment assistance program from the city that allowed them to purchase the property.
Yes.
And it was for about $20,000. It was whatever it was. It was a big lien.
Yeah.
And that wasn't included in my $56,000 offer because he told me I only owe $56,000. So I basically was going to pay off his first position. Then I take it to title. And once I get to title, I find out, well, no, there's another $20,000 lien out here, which completely kills my deal.
Yeah.
But real long story short, what I found out is that the way that it was a grant, the way that grant from the city was set up is they had to occupy the property for at least 5 years. And if they'd occupied the property for at least 5 years, the grant would be waived and they'd never owe it again.
Yes.
You know when that grant expired?
No.
2 days before the foreclosure auction.
Oh my gosh.
Like literally in 2 days before the foreclosure auction is a Saturday morning.
Oh no.
So like Monday morning, I'm at the city. I'm like, give me a release of lien, give me a release of lien. And I'm like running down, and we finally ended up buying it. But man, that was a crazy situation.
So yeah, the grants can be released. Yeah, and if you look, in the county records, you can look up yourself. You can see the recorded document and see the requirements that they have to release it. The one that I was talking about, it was for repairs.
Oh, for repairs?
Yeah, because
I've never seen something like that
his house wasn't up to code, so they gave him money to fix it, and that's why they wouldn't take a loss, is because it wasn't a down payment program. But yeah, I've seen those, and those are the ones that you love because you're like, oh yeah, this guy's good.
So before we hop to one more question, tax liens. Can you short a tax lien?
No.
What about an IRS lien?
But
I like butts.
Yeah, so tax liens, like income tax liens, you can get them lifted.
Okay.
You can work with the IRS and get it lifted. Now that's a whole nother process in itself. But again, that's what your agent should be doing in the short sale. Basically, you have to get the approval from the short lender, get your approval letter, have approved buyer, all of that, and then you go to the IRS and say, okay, now we've got this approved. Can you please lift this?
I love it.
But your approval letter is only going to be good for so many days. So what happens a lot is that the IRS takes their time. Your approval letter expires, so now you have to go back to the bank and get another approval letter. So it can be done. It just takes some time.
You remember Purdue?
Yes.
It had
Yes.
a lot of IRS liens again. And I just remember the 6-hour hold time on like the IRS. It'd just be like, first thing in the morning, auto dial IRS and just leave the beautiful music on all day long while you waited for them. But it looks like we have another question coming in. What do we got?
Daniel Trinidad. So for someone in pre-foreclosure with no other option to save the house, what is better to sell the house, a pre-foreclosure sale or a short sale?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry. You got it?
Basically, it's a pre-foreclosure sale or a short sale. He's asking what's better for the seller.
Oh, I would say a pre-foreclosure sale. If you can buy the property, if you can reinstate it, whatever you guys can do, subject to wraps, that's going to be better for the seller because that's going to help their credit. A short sale, the seller's credit is being affected because they're missing their mortgage payments. So when they do a short sale, at the end of it, once it's successful, it's going to show that it's a settled debt, meaning that they've took care of it. It's not a big deal anymore. It's over and done with. So their credit is being affected by the missed mortgage payments. A short sale does not affect their credit. It just helps salvage it because once they're done with it, it's going to show settled debt. And then actually, if they're working on their credit during the short sale, which we advise all of our sellers to, if they can get their credit up back to a 620 during the short sale process, I have a lender who will lend them money the next day after they complete the short sale if their credit is up.
Oh, that's sweet. I'd never tell somebody that.
Well, so yes, if you guys can do anything to not have the short sale go through, I say go for it because that will help the seller. But if nothing's left, then a short sale will help them salvage their credit at least.
I mean, really, the only need for a short sale is if there's negative equity that's beyond what a subject to transaction could consume.
Yes.
So anything that could be done outside of that, I'd suggest short sales are, in my opinion, your last route.
Yes, exactly.
So
the last choice.
This is from Renee. She was asking, do short sales normally take a long time? And is that because you're dealing with a financial institution? And on furthermore,
Yes and yes.
I'll throw in, what is your longest?
Oh, nice. Yes and yes. Short sales are not short in time, so yes, don't get confused about the short sale name. It's quite the opposite. And yes, the bank is taking a loss, so there's a lot of steps that they have to go through to accept that loss on a mortgage. The longest short sale that I've done is probably almost 2 years. But we were working at Foreign Investor.
That's what I'm about to
Yeah,
ask.
we were working at Foreign Investor. And in the long run for the seller, it doesn't matter how much the bank is taking a loss on because they're going to waive the deficiency. The seller's not going to have to repay that back. So, we let the seller know what we're doing up front because, again, they are missing their payment. So, yeah, their credit's been affected for those 2 years. But in the end, it's the same result, whether it's done in 30 days or in 2 years.
I don't want to set expectations, but you've knocked several short sales out for me relatively fast in comparison to what I would expect. I mean, I think it was Coral Way. Coral Way was trashed.
Yeah.
Coral Way was trashed, but it was like 3 weeks, and you were like, "Hey, I've got you approved to what you offered." And I was off. They were owed, I think, probably 100 plus, and I was offering around 15.
I can't remember who that lender was, but like Caliber, I can do a short sale in 30 days with Caliber.
Awesome.
Yeah, so find all those.
Now, before moving on, I do want to make something very clear for you. What does it take to go get the continuing education credit, whatever, that says I'm a short sale specialist?
You have to apply with TREC,
Okay.
Texas Real Estate Commission, and then you apply and you show them your credentials and they'll give you the certification.
So how long does that take? What's it take? I mean, do you have to like close a certain number of short sales before they'll give it to you, or do you just go take a class?
No, basically you just show them, like I have a presentation that I
Okay.
would teach all the agents, and we show them the presentations and they review
No,
it.
I'm not talking about to become a continuing education teacher. I'm talking about to get, the agents have that little accreditation on the thing that says I'm a short sale specialist.
Yes, you have to take a class.
So how long is that class?
It's usually a day. A full day.
So is somebody
Sometimes
going to
two.
become a short sale specialist in a day?
No, not if you take that class.
All I'm trying to do is say, how many short sales have you actually closed?
I think it's close to 500, if not more.
So if you're out talking to your best friend that just got the realtor license, real estate agent license, a month ago, and they went and took a continuing education class, and now they got this little short sale specialist, is that who you need to be working with?
Probably not. I would say
I'm
no.
going to say hell no.
Yeah.
I'm going to say hell no. How many have you closed?
Near 500, if not more.
That's who you need to work with. If you're dealing with short sales and you've got a friend that's all like, "Oh, I'll handle a short sale for you," you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, leery. Some brokers, if your broker will not allow you to do a short sale, you can't process one.
All right.
So yeah, some agents come to me like, "Hey, my broker won't let me process a short sale. Can you do it for me?"
If somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do it?
They can go to the Oyezz website, or my phone number is 972-537-7983. That's my cell phone.
What the hell's an Oyezz and how do you spell it?
That's Oyezz.
So oyezz.com. So we got another question popping up.
Yeah, this is from Sean Burke, and I promise this is not a glorified plug for Melody, but he basically was asking, so where do you find short sales? Are they basically just pre-foreclosures that you turn into a short sale?
So I don't think you market for short sales. It's not something that you can just go market. I think you just find the short sales as you're doing your own marketing. So if you're getting the Propelio pre-foreclosure list and you're marketing to those homeowners and you're calling the homeowner saying, how much do you owe? You're pulling your comps and you see that they're upside down and that they're way far upside down to where you can't do anything with it, then that's a short sale. So you do find most of the short sales off the pre-foreclosure list.
From my experience, I can't say I was bringing you a lot of leads, but I know I was bringing you some.
Yes.
At one point in time, I think you told me I was bringing in more than your big boy in town.
That's right.
Where I was getting almost all of these leads was coupled between probates and my pre-foreclosure lists. The pre-foreclosure lists, a lot of times, people may have equity in their property, but they lose it because they haven't made a payment in several years. And because of the principal balance plus any of the arrears that are coupled together, turns it into a short sale. If you're doing pre-foreclosure marketing, you're gonna find these upside down properties. And instead of losing those properties, I turn them over to you. I back that up into my probate marketing as well. Homeowner passes away. A lot of the time that mortgage gets dropped in the hole because whoever is, helping out with the estate or whatnot doesn't have the money to make their own house payments plus the house payments for the decedent. So those go into the hole as well. So both times, both of them, short sale scenarios. Is there anything specific about a probate short that you need to deal with? How, if it's a deceased homeowner, how do we get third-party authorizations and how do you work one of those?
Well, hopefully there's not already a probate or a will being probated at that moment, because all you have to do is get an affidavit of heirship. So you have to find the heirs, and hopefully you would have found that through your marketing, and that's who called you to begin with. And then our title company can drop the affidavit of heirship. We'll go do all that. You guys don't have to do any of it. We'll go meet with the heirs. We'll get their witnesses. We'll get all that signed, and that's what will allow us to go to the bank and be able to speak to them and negotiate the short sale. Gloucester was a probate.
Gloucester was a probate. That was the porn house.
Yeah.
That was the porn house. You walk in and there was just toys.
Socks
yes, oh yes, I forgot about that. I forgot who it was, but I brought somebody through a walkthrough on that house, and they were at the other side of the house. I was at the other side of the house, and it was kind of creepy in there, kind of weird.
It had been vacant for a long
they
time.
hadn't been to the other side of the house yet, and I go over there, and I just decided to play a little game with them. I was like, oh my God, we need to get out of here real quick. And she's like, I've seen porn before. And I was like, no, we need to get out of here. There's a dead body. And she's like, oh my God, there's a dead body. She goes like flying out of the house. But what I meant, there was like a pile of dead rats.
Oh, yeah,
there
it
were dead
smelled like
rats
it too.
all over that house. But yeah.
And that one was actually brought to me by the probate attorney.
Was it?
Yeah, so if you guys want to market to probate attorneys, that's a good idea too, because they're not going to be able to sell it short because they have to negotiate with the lender. So that's when we come into play.
So we got another question popping up.
Yes, this is again from Sean. He's basically asking, is it a short sale option because that there's not much equity in the property?
Yes, so I always say it's negative equity. So a short sale is going to have negative equity where they're just way too far upside down. They owe more than what the property's worth. The reinstatement amount is probably going to be way too much for anybody to want to do a subject to reinstate it, to be able to do something with the loan. So yes, it's just that they're just way, way, way too far behind.
Yeah, at the point in time your arrears start exceeding probably 10% of the value of the property, most of the subject to investors are going to back out, maybe 10 to 20%. Hitting 20% in arrears on the retail value of the property is going to limit the amount of down payment you could probably consume from an end buyer. So subject to starts getting really sketchy past 10 to 20% upside down, and really, probably past 10%. It's more of an Oyezz type of thing at that point in time.
Yep. Yeah, and we, if we get a lead, it rarely happens, but if we get a lead and we see that there's equity, we're going to go back to that investor and be like, hey, you need to do something with this. This is not a short sale. So even if you send it over and you're unsure, we'll let you know. I mean, we're not trying to take advantage of anyone here. So, but normally 99% of the time, they're always going to be short sales when they're sent over. Yeah.
Another question?
It's interesting you just brought up not taking advantage of anybody. How does a short sale benefit the seller?
So it salvages their credit. They get to walk away free and clear from a mortgage that they owe on, and they are not going to have to pay that back, and they avoid the foreclosure.
Well, let's run down that path real quick.
Okay.
Deficiency judgments. What's up with the 1099 deficiency?
So the banks always have to issue the 1099.
What is the 1099 deficiency before we even talk about it?
1099 is basically the bank saying that they took a loss on the mortgage. So they're going to issue the 1099 on the deficiency of the mortgage. So let's say the homeowner owes $100,000, the bank agrees to accept $80,000 for the short sale. So there's a $20,000 loss that the bank is taking. So in return, they issue that 1099 for the $20,000 to the seller.
Okay. So there's the deficiency, there's the 1099. You're saying, you know, that the banks are going to release these people from their obligations. That 1099, is that still coming out? Are they going to have to pay it? You know, are these people really wanting to take that phantom income? Because what that is that's 1099 saying these people just made 20 grand.
Right.
When in all actuality, they just didn't make anything.
No.
It's a phantom income.
Yes. So we recommend that they take all their closing papers and that 1099 to their CPA because, like you said, it's not income, it's debt. So their CPA should be able to wash it where they won't have to pay the taxes on that 1099.
Is that something you can guarantee, or is that just something to go talk to a CPA about?
I have, knock on wood, never had any issues with a homeowner ever coming back to me saying, that's wrong, whatever you told me was wrong.
So let's just say talk to your CPA about it, but it's looking like you're more than likely to be able to get that deficiency judgment waived.
Yes, because it's debt, it's not income.
Okay. Another question?
Yes, sir. This is from Tim Ron. How will we always mess up this one? It's from Tim R. Is it possible to begin a short sale request after you've already got the deed transfer into your name?
Yes and no. So yes, you can. But when I do the short sale, you're going to have to deed it back to the seller. If it's recorded, most definitely, because the bank's going to pull their own title and they're going to see that the ownership is not in the seller's name, so they're not going to do a short sale. So you would have to deed it back to the seller in order for me to complete the short sale.
Like property number 3 for me, that was the one that took me like 5.5 years to solve, and I did. I took that property over subject to while I was shorting the property. So I held the property subject to while shorting it.
Okay.
And then whenever I finally got the bank approval, they were requiring it to be vested in the previous owner's name.
Yes.
So I had to go deed this property back to get the property back to me, and I had to sign all of it with a POA on the seller.
Oh.
So it was the title company that was closing this was looking at me like
what is happening?
I feel like something wrong's going on, because there was a lot of weird stuff going on there.
That sounds weird.
It was all on the up and up, but the title company was just looking at me kind of out of the side of their eye like, what did you get me into? Fortunately, I like my title company.
Yes, yes.
More questions?
Yeah, this is from Henry. He basically was asking for a short sale lead from closing to finish. What are the basic steps to have a successful short sale?
Like as from the investor's point of view, or I guess just in total?
Let's say from investor point of view, because that's who most of our...
Basically, in the very beginning, when you vet the lead and you know that it's a short sale, you just want to let them know that somebody from Oyezz is going to be calling, because that really helps with the transition. Because you've been talking to that seller maybe for weeks, and then now all of a sudden, you know, Melody from whoever knows where is calling.
Get a three-way call going.
Yeah, you can do that too. It just really helps with the transition to let them know that, hey, you know, I know somebody who can help you. It's not me, but these people are trustworthy. You can trust them. And then we will call, and basically we just really take over from there. Every now and then we actually will reach back out to the investor. Let's say the seller is just being unavailable, they're not returning calls or emails or texts, then we may reach out to the investor and say, hey, do you mind reaching back out to them since you guys had the first initial contact? And sometimes that will help. But pretty much to be successful, you just have to have a really good agent who stays on top of it. And then
BPO.
Yep, to do the BPO, that's your duty as the investor. I would definitely say would make it more successful for you as the investor is to meet the BPO out there and have all the information up front. So by the time that you send over the lead to the time the BPO goes out, sometimes it's 3 weeks, sometimes it's 6 weeks, but I would just say do your due diligence right up front. That way you can send me everything with your offer and we have it on hand. That's very helpful too.
Love it. And this girl right here is awesome. She might come across as, you know, humble and all that other stuff. She's the queen of short sales. Everybody out there, I see all these hashtags. Go ahead and give me a couple hashtags, queen of short sales for me, because I've seen them pop up already. So show this woman some love. She is an awesome person. She does great at these short sales for you. Show her some love across the screen. Hook her up. Do we have any other questions popping up?
Yes. At the bank, who handles the short sales, and who should they, as an investor, ask to speak to?
Oh, that's good. So you have to have authorization to speak to the bank. So if you guys want to get that, go for it. But really, in the short sale department, there's a whole other side. You have customer service, you have loss mitigation, you have loan mod, foreclosure department. So I speak directly to the short sale department. And when I do a short sale, you're usually assigned one point of contact at the bank side, and then that's who I communicate with. So I would ask for a point of contact to speak with.
I'm sure you've got a nice little Rolodex that's worth some money of your upper level management and contacts.
Yes.
You're not this long into the business without your little secret weapon.
That's right,
of phone numbers.
I have an arsenal of phone numbers and emails, yes, that I use very delicately. You can't abuse that, so that's why I can't share it.
So we got another one?
Yes. From a realtor's perspective, do you offer referral fees to other realtors for short sales?
Absolutely, 100%. I will pay a referral, not 100% referral. So that came out wrong, sorry. Yes, to investors and or to agents. So if you refer something over, if it's a retail house and you know that you're gonna not be able to buy it, and we're gonna tell you up front after we see the property, because we're gonna have to go take pictures and measurements and all that good stuff, because we're gonna have to list it. And if we see it's a retail house, I'm gonna say, Daniel, it's slim to none, you're going to get this. If you still want to put in an offer, you can, but you're just going to get the referral fee.
As an investor, you get a marketing fee.
Yes.
As an investor, we get marketing fees to help cover our marketing budget for everything that's going on.
And it's 15%, whether you're an investor or you're an agent. And you'll get 15% of my 3.5% commission. I get 3.5% commission for processing the short sale that the lender will pay me. So you'll get 15% out of that.
Sweet stuff. So.
Yeah.
What other short sales have you gone through that you say were just like some slam dunks? I know you've done some slam dunks for me that I loved all day long, like Homewood and Grand Prairie.
Oh yeah,
2009 built or so. House was trashed cosmetically.
Yes.
Structurally, house was beautiful. And cosmetics really aren't that big of a repair. You go in there, you clean up the carpet, clean the tile, or not clean, remove the carpet, replace the carpet, clean up the tile, paint the walls, you're done. Yeah. I mean, cosmetics are cosmetics. There's not much to do past that. And you did an awesome job on that. And that's because the comps
BPO.
were all over the board. It was hard to nail down a retail value for that property because there were no comps.
Yeah. And, back to meeting the BPO, I think the BPOs like the fact that you're bringing them all the information because, one, yes, in that neighborhood, who knows what the comps were. So if you're providing the comps and justifying, why you're offering this amount, it's going to go a long way with that BPO. And I think that's what happened with that one is we had a good BPO person who took into account all the information and, of course, saw the property in its current condition. So that really helped.
The broad numbers on that where we bought it, I think there was like a tax lien that we couldn't short or something like that we found at the very end that I had to pay for. I was originally getting it for like 55, ended up having to pay 63 for it. But at 63, I think I put 8,000 into it, and then we sold it for like 120 grand.
Man.
So yeah, it was a good
Those
day.
are good stories.
I love those stories.
Those are good stories.
What's up, Ryan?
For Melody, you specifically, what is your areas of coverage? Like, where will you service?
We do all of DFW. So we do Fort Worth, we've done Joshua, then we do...
Like within an hour of DFW or pretty much DFW proper? How big?
I would say...
Way out there?
Yeah, we're doing one we just got one for Travis County, which I think is like way east of here.
Travis County's Austin.
Yeah. Oh, okay, then it's not.
Pretty
Smith
sure.
County? Is that where's Terrell?
Terrell is like Kaufman, I think.
Okay, well, wherever. It's way east of here. It's like an hour and a half drive from here, and we're going to do that one. So.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if it's in DFW and the surrounding areas, we'll do it.
I think the question was more national. Like, do you only cover in Texas?
Yes, only Texas. I'm only licensed in Texas.
Okay.
But if you guys do have something that's out of state, I do have an agent company that does do all out of state, like any state. So you can email me or call me and I can give you their information too.
But if it's in Texas?
Yes.
Are you going to be doing a class for us down in San Antonio? I haven't heard any of the details of that yet. No. I know there's a lot of people that may want to hear from you.
Yeah. We actually stopped doing San Antonio. The short sale market is just not a market down there. Okay. There's a lot of owner financing down there, but short sales, we went out to San Antonio probably about 3 or 4 different times last year. Did our thing, had events, and nothing became of it. And the short sales that we have now, they've been on the market for a long time. It's just not a short sale market, yeah. Okay, so we're not doing that. But I do have somebody that can do San Antonio, so.
So cool. Any other thoughts, any other hopes or wishes for 2018 from Oyezz?
And just my motto for this year is just to be happy. Be happy in my spiritual life, my mental life, my health life, my work life. So I just hope that can, spew over to you guys.
Well, you're always smiling when I see you,
yeah.
so you're always happy.
Yeah.
How does somebody get in touch with you?
Okay, so cell phone is 972-537-7983. Email works too, melody@oyezz.com, melody@oyezz.com.
If anybody has any last minute questions, get them put in now because we're gonna get those questions answered before we wrap this up. But for those of you out there that have not heard of Propelio before, do not know what Propelio is, go check us out, go Google us. We're all over the Googles. It's Propelio. Lots of content, lots of tools there for you real estate investors, comps, lead lists, probates, pre-foreclosure lists. If you need any of that type of stuff, check us out, Propelio.com. We're always releasing videos like this, so make sure to subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, and all them other social media channels that we do, and I'm just too old to understand. But make sure to subscribe to us. We love doing that. Help us share. Get out there, tell your friends about it. Share us here on Facebook. Share us to the groups so that way, other people can find out about the knowledge that we're providing here. And let's take up some of these last questions, and we'll see what happens from there. What we got?
Last question, or one of the last questions, Thomas Tulubin. Who is it that you pit as an investor? Who is it you're talking to about the short sales? Is it the trustees? Like who am I talking to? Hey, you should do a short sale for this one. Does that make sense?
Well, I think.
Did I ask the question badly?
So the investor would be talking to the homeowner initially, and then once they find out they're upside down, yada yada yada, then they refer it over to me, and then I actually speak with the seller's lender to negotiate the short sale.
You can go ahead and X that.
Does that work?
No, I like that, but there's something about to pop up, and I know he's going to ask me, and it's not happening.
Oh.
Sorry, we got screens over here on the side that I can see what people are saying, and I know Ryan's going to try and troll me with that, and it's not happening. So what else do we got? That's it. So I appreciate everybody tuning in today. One last time, how do they get in touch with you?
972-537-7983.
Thank you for everybody that's tuned in. One last shot. Please give me a like and a share. Please help us out here. We're trying to do all this to help you out. Help us out by doing the same. Share, share, share. Like. Give her a good old hashtag Queen of Short Sales. Show Miss Melody your love. I appreciate you tuning in and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.